Welcome back. I'm Allison Stewart. Rachel Maddow is feeling a little under the weather tonight, but she will be back tomorrow. Coming up next, whereas President Bush saw Vladimir Putin's soul, President Obama took a much different approach today in Moscow. Some change we can actually identify in just a minute. And later, Senator Al Franken is in Washington. It's a long way from baggage handler and trading places to Harry Reid's sidekick. Kent Jones has an appreciation in just a few minutes. But first, as everyone with access to mass communication technology knows, tomorrow is the public memorial service for Michael Jackson at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. The reporting of every detail of this story since Mr. Jackson's death has been less than perfectly reliable, but it appears almost certain that tomorrow will be memorial service as mega event. Variously reported and rumored to be appearing are some of pop and soul music's biggest stars, from Stevie Wonder and Smokey Robinson to Mariah Carey and Jennifer Hudson. The memorial will be broadcast across the world and shown in at least 80 theaters in the United States. The Los Angeles Police Department expects potentially historic crowds. 1.6 million people registered for free tickets to the event, which went to only 8,750 fans and their plus ones. Someone who won't be at Michael Jackson's memorial is Debbie Rowe, Jackson's former wife and mother to his first two children. According to her attorney, Rowe changed her mind about attending out of fear of becoming a, quote, distraction. Her run-in with reporters and paparazzi yesterday pinged around the blogosphere today.
Children, are you ready to fight for your children?
Do not touch me.
Nobody touched you here.
You just did. Don't.
Are you ready to fight for your children?
Are you ready to get your butt kicked? Don't touch me.
And then there was genuine legal development on one of the ongoing potentially contentious issues surrounding his estate. Who will manage it, and how much money and or debt did he leave? Today, a Los Angeles Superior Court judge ruled that Jackson's 2002 will is indeed valid, and that per Jackson's 2002 wishes, attorney John Branca and music executive John McClain are temporary executors of his estate. Before the 2002 will was discovered, Katherine Jackson, his mother, had sought and was named temporary executor of the estate. At a news conference after the hearing, lawyers for Jackson's mother defended their request for the judge to delay the decision, adding in a statement to NBC News that the legal filings were to, quote, prevent against granting the unfettered master keys to the kingdom of Michael Jackson's estate and legacy. And it is part of that kingdom that co-executor John Branca helped secure, namely Jackson's stake in the Sony ATV music publishing catalog, which includes more than 200 Beatles songs. Among the outstanding stories to be told, how Michael Jackson acquired those music rights, what he did with them, and what they're really worth, and how much they're worth relative to his enormous debt. NPR's Elizabeth Blair has been reporting on this aspect of the story, and she joins us now. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, I want to do a little CSI on this and sort of unpack how Michael Jackson ended up with this catalog. Who originally owned this catalog?
The Beatles. The Beatles in the 1960s started a company called Northern Songs. They started it with their manager and another investor, and it was essentially a company to publish and own Beatles songs. But the Beatles themselves did not own very much of this company. They owned, I think, a total of 30 to 40%. And over time, that company went up for sale, and the Beatles didn't really have a say because they didn't own enough of the company. And it was sold to ATV, which was a British television music publisher. And eventually that company was sold to an Australian tycoon. And then jumped to 1985. It goes up for sale, and Michael Jackson, who apparently always wanted to own Beatles songs, was the highest bidder.
Now, is it really true that Paul McCartney suggested to Michael Jackson, hey, you should get into this idea of owning publishing?
Yeah, well, that's what Paul McCartney has said in interviews. In the early 1980s, the two of them worked together on a few songs, and Paul McCartney has said that I was sort of advising him on business deals, and I said, yeah, you should get in on music publishing. I mean, at the time, Paul McCartney owned many, many songs and still does, and then the story goes that Michael Jackson said, someday I'm going to buy your songs.
Well, isn't that ironic? How much did Jackson buy the Cadillac for?
$47 million, roughly.
Was that a good deal?
Well, back then, I think it was seen as a lot of money, but today, obviously, it seems like the deal of the century. In fact, in music industry history, this is seen as an incredibly interesting deal because not many people at the time knew how lucrative music publishing could be, and not many songwriters were buying other people's songs. So it was a great deal.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. A lot of people don't know that's where the money is made. If you write the song, you get the money. You get the publishing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of people scratch their heads. How is it that the Beatles, they wrote the songs, why don't they own all of the songs? But music being a huge business, the publisher collects the money, and 50% goes to the songwriters, generally speaking. Those deals are negotiated, and then the other 50% goes to the publisher.
Now, explain how Sony got involved. We keep saying Sony ATV.
Yeah, and that was a merger that happened in 1995 when Jackson was having some financial difficulties. He put ATV up for sale, and Sony, that was a likely partner for that merger. And as I understand it, Sony bought ATV for $90 million, which is twice the original investment, and it became a merger, 50-50, Michael Jackson and Sony.
Now, Jackson often used this publishing catalog as collateral, correct?
That's right. You know, he has borrowed a lot of money, he spent a lot of money, and he borrowed a lot of money, and yes, he has used the Sony ATV catalog as collateral, and he's also used his own publishing company, which is called MyJack, as collateral.
So he owns his own songs as well. So, I mean, that's a money-making machine, this publishing he has.
Very much so. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that he was a great businessman. I mean, it's hard to believe because he overspent so much, but I think very early on he understood that entertainment is a business. I am in a business, and made some really good moves.
NPR's Elizabeth Blair has been reporting on this aspect of the Michael Jackson story. Elizabeth, thanks for sharing your reporting. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.